Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the FY26 PHLpreK exhibits info session. I know it's really hard to believe we're talking about the next school year already, but we are really excited to welcome our new providers and welcome back to our returning providers. I'm Carrie Lee. I'm the contracts manager with PHLpreK at PHMC. Also helping me to lead you through this presentation is our contracts coordinators, Brittany Maines and Theo Margulies, and also Mihaly Timothy will be helping us with the chat. So we'd like to take a moment to make subtitles available for those who want to view them in English, Spanish, or any other language. We're sending you an invitation right now to, in this meeting to be able to do so. You're going to see the invitation pop up. It looks like the little black box on the left. You can click open if you'd like to see subtitles and then select your language. You can just click ignore if you don't want to see the subtitles. Okay, just a couple of housekeeping things. Please have your microphones muted. You can type any questions in the chat and we'll get to as many as possible along the way. We'll have some breaks in the training for that. And the presentation will be recorded. The recording and the slides will be available in the weekly newsletter along with all the links that were shared today. What we'll go over today, we'll go over expectations around contract exhibits and what you'll need to submit for us to help prepare your PHLpreK contract. We'll go over policies and other documents you need to submit, plus demo the online submission form, which is very similar to last year if you're a returning provider. We'll share information about waivers related to curriculum, outcomes assessment, and developmental screenings. Also talk through remote learning and staff qualifications. Then we'll finish up with resources and next steps. All of these have due dates that you need to adhere to for timely review and processing. So first, just a little bit about us as PHMC, the intermediary. I know many of you are familiar being returning providers, but we'll just give a brief overview. So PHMC supports implementation of the PHLpreK system, including coordination of provider contracting and monthly processing of payments to providers, developing compliance monitoring protocols for the system, communicating contract deliverables and expectations, helping providers achieve those goals, overseeing the enrollment process, and also collecting provider and child level data for analysis and reporting. Our goals are to provide high quality provider services. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your provider service specialist. They're there to help you, and they will also be holding office hours around exhibits. If you have any questions about anything we go over today, we'll have those office hours and at the end of this presentation, we'll share those. Our goals are also to provide accurate and timely enrollment-based payment, make recommendations for system growth and improvement based on data, refer system supports based on provider performance, goals, and priorities, and providing clear definition of contract expectations. And now you will hear from the Spark Quality Support Center. Lauren is here from their team.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lauren Merrill, one of the coaching managers at the Spark Quality Support team. So at the Spark Quality Support Center, we are responsible for delivering high quality support services directly to providers participating in the City of Philadelphia's PHLpreK program. And I'm going to place our website in the chat for you. Next slide. So there are numerous points of access to engage with the Spark Quality Support Center. First of all, we have specialists and content experts. They are the content experts in a variety of fields, such as early childhood education, business, family and community engagement, health and equity and inclusion, and they serve as our professional development facilitators and can also provide specialized consulting alongside the coaching you receive. Secondly, coaches, they're a part of the Spark team to support providers to the level of their choosing. Coaches offer one-on-one coaching, provide assessments that can also act as a concierge to guide providers to the resources that they need. Although coaches are a go-to resource, all providers do have the ability to access resources independently if that's what you choose, and those resources can be found on our website. We also have the Knowledge Center. This serves as the online library containing key information, self-assessments, on-demand trainings, and a variety of resources such as tools, job aids, and templates. And the Knowledge Center is available online and accessible to everyone 24/7. We also have the Help Desk. This provides guidance to providers that may need help finding specific resources. Or if you have a specific need, you can use the Help Desk. It's a phone hotline and a live chat available through the website during regular business hours. You can simply share the resources that you're looking for, and the Help Desk will guide you to all the available resources that we have that are as closely aligned with your need. That could include content from the Knowledge Center, any professional development trainings that we have, and things like peer learning circles or communities of practice. And lastly, we do have the events calendar. This is also housed on the Knowledge Center. And this is where providers can find Spark's schedule of professional development trainings. These are live trainings as well as on demand or pre-recorded. They could be virtual or in person. This content is developed and delivered by specialists in their respective areas. And the events calendar is available on the website 24/7. Lastly, beyond these resources, Spark Quality Support Center will be announcing new online demand trainings available through the PD registry and new special initiatives that providers can participate in.
Great, thanks, Lauren.
Yep.
So you'll be hearing from Lauren again towards the end of this presentation in the resources section. All right, next we will go to preparing for contracting and provide an overview of the exhibits and that process. So first off, for new providers who aren't familiar, exhibits are documents that need to be completed to prepare your PHLpreK contract. These are all due on July 30th. Providers need to submit exhibits for each PHLpreK site. Returning providers will be able to attest to using some documents from last year, and we'll get to this more in a little bit. We know this can be a lot of information, so we've put together a checklist for all documents that need to be submitted and exhibit guidelines to help understand what needs to be included in each exhibit. There are links to samples and also templates in these documents as well. So we drop them in the chat and we'll bring them up really briefly to give you an idea what they look like. So first is the contract exhibits document. As you can see, that first section is all of the exhibits that need to be submitted. You'll see like links to templates there for the line item budget. You'll see instructions, a video tutorial, and an expense line item resource. The next section goes into the required policies that need to be submitted for returning and new providers, and then the other documents as well. And this document is the contract exhibit guidelines. As you can see, it's for the exhibits only, and it gives you a sense of what needs to be included in each item. Okay. So moving on, exhibits need to be submitted through the online platform, just like last year. We'll drop the link to the submission form in the chat. We also have a video tutorial that is available as well. New providers will need to submit all exhibits and required policies since this is the first time you're doing that. For returning providers that had contracts last year, you will be able to attest that some have not changed. Some exhibits and required policies have not changed since last year, and you won't have to upload them in the submission form. Again, the submission deadline is July 30th, 2025. Please start preparing your documents now, and you can turn them in as you complete them before the deadline. We just want to make sure your contract is not delayed. So if your specialist has to ask for revisions and you need to resubmit, we just don't want any delays in that process. So the next few slides shows the documents that need to be submitted for returning or new providers. You'll see the returning providers are in the orange column, and the green is the new provider column. We'll briefly go over this list and then go into each exhibit in more detail in the next few slides. So as you can see, the majority of documents on this slide, both returning providers and new providers will have to submit all of them. The line item budget, both new and returning providers need to submit. You should use the template appropriate for your program type. You'll need to submit a copy of your valid Pennsylvania DHS license or Department of Education license if that's applicable. Updated insurance documents. We'll go over requirements in a couple of slides. The program calendar noting start and end dates and how you'll meet 180 days of PHLpreK service. The program daily schedule showing how you'll provide 5.5 hours of instructional time. You'll see in that orange column for returning providers, it says if updated. So that means you will be able to attest to using last year's version of your program daily schedule if you'd like to. And then both new and returning providers need to submit the 21st century minimum wage and benefits attestation. So these are the required policies that need to be submitted for all new providers. For returning providers, you are able to attest to using any of these policies from last year. So they are the attendance policy, enrollment waitlist policy, family grievance policy, and suspension and expulsion policy. There is a PHLpreK guidance workbook that we developed last year to assist providers in developing these policies. It includes specifics you need to align to PHLpreK expectations, also samples and templates. And we can pull so that link should be dropped in the chat as well. Yep. And then we can pull it up to give you an idea what that looks like. Okay, so we won't go over the whole thing, but just wanted to give a brief overview. This is the guidance workbook. It first gives it just an introduction, and all of the policies are sort of structured the same, with things to think about, expectations for PHLpreK that should be included, and then things you can add in, jot down to add in specific to your program. And then it goes through some examples and then also has templates as well. There are just a few other items that you need to submit as well. So for the kindergarten transition template, this is being updated very briefly and we'll have that available soon. You'll be able to indicate in the online submission form if you want to use the PHLpreK template, or you can also upload your own as well. All providers will need to complete the subcontractor questionnaire form, which asks questions around business status and workforce diversity. Any provider returning or new that is a star 1 or 2 will need to complete a star 3 action plan and waiver. And then the fiscal documents section, this is mainly for new providers. So these are required for new providers to be able to set up your direct deposit. So your provider service specialist will be reaching out soon to gather these documents. They are the ACH credit authorization form, sending a copy of a voided check, and your W-9 form. They're all linked in the checklist there, those 2 forms. If you are a returning provider, you only would need to send this in if any of your banking account information has changed. All right, this is a quick overview of what happens after your documents are submitted. Again, they're all due on July 30th, but you can submit sooner. Your specialist will review your exhibits first and then follow up if they need to be revised and resubmitted. All exhibits will hopefully be approved in August, and we'll send you your PHLpreK contract for signature. Please review that and save a copy of it. After that's done, then your provider service specialist will review your policies and other documents if you have uploaded those and submitted them. If significant revisions are needed for your policies, a Spark referral will be made. We know some policies may be shared with families prior to starting the school year. Just make sure you, if any of those policies needed to be updated, that after they're approved, then you share those revised versions with your families and staff. Okay, now I'm going to pass it to Theo to take you through this next section.
All right, so now I'm going to go over some overall tips for completing exhibits and then some specific to each exhibit. So make sure that you use the appropriate program name, which is PHLpreK, and the correct title for the city, which is the Office of Children and Families, or OCF. The documents that you upload must be in Word, PDF, or Excel format, and the submission platform won't accept documents that are in any other format. So the first exhibit is the line item budget, which projects how you will spend city funding on allowable expenses. You will be expected to report on how your actual expenses compare to your budget at mid and year end. And there are resources available to help you complete your budget. So we have instructions and a video tutorial. And we also have an expense line item resource, which provides guidance and examples on costs that may be under each line item. And so here is the resource. So this is the expense line item resource. So it's split up into each expense category. So there's program staff expenses, program other expenses, occupancy expenses, and other expenses, and it includes each line item that is on your budget, and then it has some definitions or examples. This is not an exhaustive list. There's other expenses that you can put on your budget that are not on here. This is just to give you some examples or definitions to include.
I have us moving this week.
So you should complete the line item budget template that according to your site type. So there are center and family versions available. And if you're a group, you'll complete the center template. You'll complete the top portion of the form, which includes your site name, the name of the person completing the form, and the submission date. You'll complete the slot allocation and total budget amount, which is based on your notice of award. Please make sure that your total award amount matches the total of line items, and any budgeted amount outside of the suggested ranges needs sufficient detailed justification. And if it's outside the range, please be specific in explaining why. And so now I will show you what the line item budget looks like. So this is the center version. So if you're a family provider, you'll use the family template. So you will put in your site name. So this is a drop down. So you'll select your site from the drop down list. You'll put your name where it says name of person completing the form, the date. You'll put your total budget amount and then your number of slots. So for this example, we can just pick an easy number. So let's say your total budget amount was 100,000, and then you'll complete column B for each line item that you want to put a budgeted amount, and then column C will automatically populate based on the percentage of budget based on your total budget amount. So if your teacher salary you were to put, let's say 35,000, that's 35% of 100,000, which is in the allowable range. So you would not need a detailed justification since it's within that percentage. If it was higher than the percentage, so if it was 50,000, it would highlight yellow. And so you would need a detailed justification. So you'll complete your budget in column B for each line item that you want an amount, and then you'll put in a detailed justification if the percentage of budget in column C is either higher or lower than the allowable range in column D. Make sure that your total, so all of your budget amounts in column B at the bottom and the total here, make sure that it just equals your amount that you've put, your total budget amount based on your notice of award here. Once this is approved, your budget is approved, make sure that you save a copy because you will be using this template also for your expense reporting. So you'll be submitting this again with your expense report for your mid-year and your year-end expense reporting. So just make sure that you save a copy. So the next exhibit is your DHS license. So you need to submit your current DHS license or your Department of Education license if you have one. Please make sure that it's not expired. We understand that some providers may have a license that is expired for reasons outside of your control. If it is expired, please just submit what you have and your provider service specialist will follow up with you. When it's no longer expired, we'll just need an updated license for your file.
Okay, next is insurance. So all providers need to have insurance. This protects your business from unexpected costs, which could come from accidents, damages, natural disasters, or lawsuits. PHLpreK is a city-funded program, and all city contractors are required to have the appropriate level of insurance applicable to your business. When submitting, we only need the insurance certificate, not the full policy. Providers should focus on the appropriate insurance for the items on this slide. So first is general liability. This is fundamental coverage to protect businesses against financial loss. This is base coverage needed for all providers. Workers' compensation, this government mandated program that provides benefits to workers who become injured or ill on the job as a result of the job. This coverage is needed for businesses with employees in Pennsylvania. This may be waived if you are the provider or the sole employee. For auto insurance, who this applies to is if you rent a vehicle and you're driving, then you need the appropriate auto insurance. If you're taking children on SEPTA or chartering a bus, you do not need insurance. But if you intend to hire a charter company, just make sure that they have insurance coverage. You can also complete the auto attestation that needs to be completed if you are not transporting children. Then you'll sign off on that and upload it into the online system. You can reference Article 7 for more details on all of the insurance requirements. Also, for insurance, make sure you list PHMC and the city, and our contact information is on the right-hand side of the screen. Make sure your insurance has not expired, especially workers' compensation. Make sure you have adequate coverage for each required insurance component. And make sure you list each location on the insurance document if coverage is for the legal entity.
All right, so next is the program calendar. So providers should schedule a minimum of 180 days of PHLpreK service between August 25th, 2025 and June 30th, 2026. And the August date aligns with the start date of the school district of Philadelphia. While your first day of school may begin before September 1st, please note that the first invoicing period will be for September. Early dismissal days do not count towards the 180 days, and snow days or other emergency closures must be made up to ensure the full number of days of operation. Please be sure to add in additional dates to your calendar just in case you have unexpected closures. So here is a sample of a program calendar. So you can see it includes the 180 days. It represents a start date of August 25th, which aligns with the school date of Philadelphia, and an ending date of June 8th. It clearly identifies the start date and end date and the days closed. Again, please make sure that you have an adequate amount of wiggle room for emergencies or unscheduled closings to ensure your 180 days are met. If you are using this sample, you don't have to match the colors exactly. You can adjust them to what's available on your computer. So next is the daily schedule. There should be 5.5 hours per day of developmentally appropriate instructional time in each PHL pre-K day. This should include at least 60 minutes of physical activity. What's not included in the 5.5 hours is arrival and departure time and nap time. Nap or rest period must be included when the PHL pre-K day extends after lunch. If any part of the PHL pre-K day occurs before 7:30 a.m. or after 4:30 p.m., a written request must be submitted to PHMC for approval by OCF prior to the classroom opening. You can send your request to phlprek@phmc.org and inform your provider service specialist. And so here's an example of the daily schedule. You can see that it includes 5.5 hours, and you'll see that nap and arrival and dismissal time isn't included in that time. So next is the 21st century minimum wage and benefits. Providers must comply with the 21st century minimum wage benefit for PHL pre-K staff, and this includes any staff that you include on your PHL pre-K budget. This will increase to $16.82 this year. And for more information on this, you should review the code and notification from the city, and that's linked here on this slide and also on the checklist. Exemptions to this include agencies with 5 or fewer employees and nonprofits with contract awards of less than $100,000. If you're unable to meet the requirement, you should request a temporary waiver with the city. And you can request that waiver form from us, from PHMC. So now we'll take a break if anyone has any questions.
Okay, there are a few that came in. Someone is saying there were a bunch of links provided. We provided them now just so you can get started if you'd like to. Everything will also be included in the weekly newsletter that comes out every Friday. If you are a new provider, you will be added to the distribution list. And we can also make sure that you get an email with all this information. Someone is also asking about whether we have a list of participant insurance companies. Unfortunately, we do not have that list. Is the 5 or fewer employees PHL pre-K employees only, or your overall organization for the 21st century minimum wage? I believe it is by legal entity. We can double check that and get back to you before the end of this presentation. Okay, why don't we move on to the next section? And please put any questions, keep them coming in the chat box and we'll get to them at the next break.
All right, thanks, Carrie. We'll now transition to the required policies and we'll review their purpose, what needs to be included, and the submissions for each. As we mentioned earlier, the PHL pre-K policy guidance workbook, all required policies are due at the same time at the exhibits, which is that July 30th date. However, they will not be reviewed until the beginning of the school year as a compliance activity. We did share that link again, like I said earlier, but we just wanted to remind you that it was created to help provide a guidance to you as providers in the development of your policies to ensure that they align with the PHL pre-K requirements and expectations. Again, it does have samples and templates throughout. And the purpose of this workbook is to have you as providers just take ownership and really tailor your policies to not just our guidelines, but your individual facility as well. Again, for our returning providers, you will be able to attest that you are using your FY25 version of the policies. However, new providers, you will need to upload all new policies in our platform. So our first policy we'll dive into will be the attendance policy. And this is used to help establish clear procedures and expectations for the enrolled children along with their families around daily attendance. The importance of regular attendance is to ensure that each child receives an optimum learning experience for preschool along with receiving adequate program dosage. Some things that your attendance policy should reference. It should identify a daily process for parents and guardians to sign in and out their children. It should state a PHLpreK enrolled child should begin in the program within 7 days after the enrollment is approved by PHMC. The policy should also outline some processes that families should use to notify your center if their child should be absent. Please adhere to the Office of Child Development and Early Learning, the City of Philadelphia, as well as the Caring for Our Children guidance around health-related exclusions. And the attendance policy describes your program's intent to deliver and document support that remediate chronic and consecutive absence issues prior to the child being withdrawn from your program. A child who is absent for 30 consecutive days or more without prior approval from the program director and PHLpreK intermediary, may be discharged and placed on the wait list. If interested, they may be able to re-enroll if a slot is then available. If you as providers have a child that has been absent for 30 days, they should communicate this. You should communicate this to your provider service specialist so it can be reviewed. And any chronic or extended absences, whether it's excused or unexcused, will then need to be reviewed by OCF and PHMC on a case-by-case scenario to determine if that child should be discharged after that 30-day period. Our next policy is the enrollment and waitlist policy. This offers a first opportunity to introduce families to your program, your program's philosophy and intake policies. It sets the tone for the relationship with families while also providing an opportunity to obtain initial necessary information as far as forms and documentation. The information that needs to be in your enrollment and waitlist policy, I believe it was reviewed enrollment training. However, we just want to go over some more key points. So the enrollment and waitlist policy, it outlines eligibility requirements such as age and residency for the child. The policy will need to clearly identify PHLpreK as a free program and does not require any additional fees associated with their enrollment. This policy will need to clearly outline the program's process and priority for enrollment. This includes time and procedures for notification of enrollment to parents or guardians, which is 24 hours. The enrollment and waitlist policy will discuss additional funding and/or wraparound care options as they are needed by the family. Additionally, this policy will also explain the priority of waitlisted applicants and follows the order that they were received. The enrollment and waitlist policy should also state other additional documentation that may be needed prior to a child's start in the program to ensure that they meet DHS licensing requirements, such as health assessments, immunization records, or any emergency contact information from families. The family grievance policy. This helps to ensure that families' concerns and grievances are addressed with respect and fairness and are resolved in a consistent and timely manner. The policy should include an appropriate communication method for families to document their grievances, whether it be email or letters. It will identify the steps a parent or guardian should follow to resolve any issues or concern they may have with the program staff member, a policy, or to resolve a specific incident. This policy should also identify the program staff members who will receive the grievances from the family, as well as develop a timeline that will be used to resolve any grievances. And lastly, this policy should include strategies that the program will be using to ensure the confidentiality of families filing a grievance, as well as ensuring that families are treated with fairness. Our next policy is the suspension and expulsion policy. So the purpose of this policy is to ensure that children with varying abilities have and maintain access to high quality early learning programs that meet their needs. You as providers are not permitted to independently suspend or expel an enrolled child. Instead, you will need to work to develop an intervention or transition plan. This will engage families and supports the well-being of school readiness by documenting behaviors and strategies to support children and their families. If you, as a provider, does determine that an enrolled child poses a risk or safety, the well-being of other children and staff in your program, you will need to communicate this concern to PHMC and their contract entity. There is a new sample available in the PHLpreK policy guidance workbook that we shared earlier that will support your development of this suspension and expulsion policy, as well as Spark, our quality support center, be able to assist you. And there will be more information on Spark supports provided at the end of this presentation. All right, your suspension policy should include some of the following. It needs to explicitly state that your program will not independently suspend or expel an enrolled child. It should define timelines for completing ASQ-SE and sharing those results with the family and making a referral. Your suspension policy should detail a data tracking system for incidents and occurrences that would include behavior reports as well as observation. This policy should demonstrate that families will be engaged in all intervention processes along the way. Additionally, the suspension policy should demonstrate that you will request the appropriate PHLpreK supports, including any coaching, ECMH consultation, and/or family navigation when needed. And then lastly, this policy should reference the partnership with the intermediary and OCF to develop a transition plan and identify alternative placement for children. So on this screen, we have provided some resources for you as providers to reference when you construct this policy. This includes the OCDEL implementation and support guidelines, as well as OCDEL definition of suspension and expulsion, as you see. Again, just to remind you all, the PHLpreK policy workbook is a great reference to assist you with all the development of your policies.
All right, just to go back to the question that was asked earlier about the 21st century minimum wage and the exemption. So it is if you have 5 or fewer employees across your organization. So that's not just PHLpreK, if you have 5 or fewer PHLpreK staff. There was another question about insurance. We do understand that some folks are having issues with insurance right now. Please convey those issues to your specialist, and they will help us understand what your issues are, and then we can provide some guidance from there. Okay, I think those are all the questions right now. Please keep them coming, and we'll keep this moving to the next section. All right, so we'll talk about the other documents that need to be submitted. First is the kindergarten transition plan. So the kindergarten transition plan helps to promote engagement and understanding of educational options for families with children aging into kindergarten. These plans document activities throughout the program year that will support transition into kindergarten. As I mentioned before, this is being reworked just a tiny little bit. The PHLpreK template will be available soon. All providers can indicate if you plan to use the PHLpreK template in the online submission form. And if you choose to do so, you don't have to upload any documents in the online submission form. If you're using your own template, it should include the date the plan was created, the child's name, parent guardian, and staff completing the plan. It should also include all the people responsible for activities, target dates, and completion dates for all tasks. Remember to also include the required deadlines and childcare data entry dates. If you need to see those, those will be available in the template. All providers need to submit the subcontractor questionnaire. Here's a snapshot of the form. You can download it from the checklist. This questionnaire details questions around business status and workforce diversity. Providers who are star 1 or 2, that's for returning or new providers, need to complete the star 3 waiver and action plan. Spark is available to assist with this and any move-up activities as well throughout the year. And then as I mentioned earlier, the fiscal documents, this is mainly for new providers to be able to set up direct deposit. You need to submit the ACH credit authorization form, a copy of voided check, and then the W-9 form. The forms are linked in the checklist as well, and your specialist will be reaching out to you to gather these documents. Again, for returning providers, you only need to submit this if any of your banking account information has changed. And here are just a reminder about the resources that we shared earlier. Please be sure to look at the contracts document collection checklist that will have the list of everything that needs to be submitted. And if you're a returning provider or a new provider, what's different for you. It also has samples and templates as well. The exhibit guidelines as well, letting you know what needs to be in each exhibit. And then also the PHLpreK policy guidance workbook to help you develop your policies. All right, let's go into a demo of the online submission form now.
All right. So this is the online submission form. So when you click the link, you will go to this page where you will either log in or create an account. So if you don't already have an account, you will create one. So you'll put in your email address, your first and last name, your company name, and then you'll create a password and click register. If you already have an account from last year, you will put in your email address and your password. If you don't remember your password, you can click lost password and it will send you an email to reset your password. If you're having trouble with that, if you don't receive the reset password email, you can always email us and we can manually reset your password for you. So I will log in. And so once you log in, since I already have an incomplete one, here we go. So then it will take you directly into a new submission. So here's the submission form. So it's the FY26 PHLpreK exhibit submission form. The due date is July 30th, 2025. This blue button right here, Manage Collaborators, this you can click to add additional people to allow access or make edits to your submission. And so if you want another person or additional people to be able to upload documents or submit the submission form, you can add them here. So you'll just add a collaborator. You'll put their first and last name and their email address. And then only the primary collaborator will be able to submit the form. And so right now, since I'm the only person on the form, I'm the primary collaborator by default, but if you add additional people, you'll be able to change who that primary person is. And so for the form, you'll put your first and last name, your email address, your legal entity, your site name, your site address, your Childware site ID number, and this can be found in Childware on your home dashboard. Your contract signatory name and email address, and this is the person who is authorized to sign your PHLpreK contract. And so then we ask if your site had a PHLpreK contract in the 2024-2025 school year, because the documents you have to submit are slightly different for new and returning providers. So you'll say either yes or no. And so if you are a new provider, you'll say, no, my site at the address above did not have a PHLpreK contract in the 2024-2025. And so these are what you'll have to submit. So exhibits, the following exhibits are required and will be added into your contract. And so here's the line item budget, your DHS license, your Department of Education license, if applicable, program calendar, and program daily schedule. So you'll click which one you want to upload, and then there will be the option to upload it. So you'll just click choose file, and you'll be able to directly upload it. And then certificate of insurance, you'll upload it. And we also have additional insurance uploads. We know that sometimes insurance documents, you might have multiple insurance documents. They might not all be together, so you can upload additional insurance documents here as well. Here's the automobile insurance attestation, if applicable. So you can click here to download the attestation document, and it'll populate here. So this is just attesting that you do not transport PHL pre-K children, nor will be taking the children on any trips that require commercial automobile insurance. So you'll complete the attestation, and then you will upload it here. And then the 21st century minimum wage attestation, which is linked here. So you'll click to download, and then you'll complete it. You'll attest to one of the following, either that the requirement will be met, that you'll be requesting a waiver, or that the requirement does not apply to your site, and then you'll provide the reason, and then you will upload that here. So new providers are required to submit all the policies. So the attendance policy, enrollment wait list, family grievance, and suspension and expulsion. So you'll upload those here. For other documents, kindergarten transition plan. So you'll attest that you're using the PHL pre-K kindergarten transition plan template, or that you're using your own and would like to upload it. So if you attest that you're using the PHL pre-K template, you don't have to upload anything. If you're using your own template, then we just ask that you upload it. The subcontractor questionnaire, which is linked right here. So you'll just click here to download it, and then you'll complete it and upload it here. We also ask if your organization is for or nonprofit, and if your organization is minority, women, disabled owned. And if you say yes, then we ask if it's certified. So those are the questions for new providers. If you're a returning provider, so if your site at the address above did have a PHL pre-K contract in the previous year, you'll say yes. And so the exhibits are the same except for the daily schedule. So you will select which ones you'd like to upload, and you'll have the ability to upload those here. For the daily schedule, you can attest that this has not changed and you wish to use the version from FY25. If you select that, you don't have to upload anything. If you want to upload a new version, then you'll have the ability to upload it. You'll upload your insurance, the automobile attestation, if applicable, 21st century minimum wage, and then new providers for policies, you can attest that they haven't changed and you want to use your versions from FY25. So you can attest that they haven't changed, and then you don't have to submit anything, or you can upload a new version, and then you'll have the ability to upload other documents. So the kindergarten transition plan, subcontractor questionnaire, and then if your organization is for a nonprofit, and if your organization is minority, women, disabled owned, and certified. For returning providers, we're also asking tax and regulatory status questions. We just want to make sure that we have the most current and accurate information. So we're asking for your contact name, title, federal employee identification number, or social security number, whichever one you use, your business income and receipt tax account number, your commercial activity license number, and if you don't have one, you can just state none for both of those, and then you'll just select one of these attestations. For new providers, we just collected this tax information in your application, so you don't have to complete it again. And so then at the bottom, there's two options here. There's save and finalize. Save just saves. So that's if you don't have all the documents you need to submit it, you can save it and then just come back to it. Save and finalize is what submits it. So that sends it to your provider service specialist so that they can begin reviewing your documents. So once you save and finalize it, so once you submit it to your specialist, if you want to make any changes or if they've requested revisions, you can, when you log back into your account, you'll go to complete and you'll see your submitted submission here. And so under action, you can edit your submission. So please edit, don't submit a new one if you need to make any changes. So you'll go to edit and you'll be able to make any changes you need to here. So if you need to make any updates to any of your documents, you'll have to remove the document that's currently uploaded. So you'll click on this blue garbage can and it'll ask you if you're sure you want to delete this item. You'll say okay, and then you will be able to upload your revised document. If you do make any edits to your submission form, just make sure that you scroll, once you're done, you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you save it so that any changes that you've made have been saved so that your specialist can review any of the changes that you've made. You're also able to make a copy. So if you go back to complete, you can copy. So if you're a legal entity that has multiple sites, you don't have to complete a whole new submission for each site. You can make a copy. So if you have submitted for one site, you can copy and it'll automatically populate your first and last name. And if your site had a contract in the previous year, so you'll just, select yes or no for this site you're making a copy for, and you'll make a copy. This copies over all of your answers to the questions and all of your documents. So just make sure that any site-specific documents, so your budget, your DHS license, any site-specific documents, just make sure that you are deleting them and re-uploading them for this site that you're making a copy for. So that is it for the submission form. If you have any questions or you need any technical assistance, please feel free to email us. We are more than happy to help you with any way that we can in terms of completing this or, resetting passwords or anything like that. Does anyone have any questions about the submission form?
I think someone was just asking, not about the submission form, but the forms in general that are linked. The majority of them are, if they are requiring you to fill them out and then upload them back in, they are fillable PDFs.
Yes.
Okay, we can move on to our next section now. I think that's Brittany.
Yep, thank you. So now we'll go over waivers, remote learning plans, and staff qualifications. Right, so curriculum, assessment, and developmental screening. The requirements for PHLpreK include using the following: creative curriculum for the curriculum, teaching strategies gold for outcomes assessment, and for developmental screening, it's the Ages and Stages Questionnaire, the 3rd edition, and Ages and Stages Questionnaire, Social Emotional, which is ASQ SE2. For our new providers, we do anticipate the curriculum kits and the second steps will be shipped by the end of July, and the ASQ kits will be delivered by your provider service specialist. Curriculum assessment, developmental screening waivers. Waivers can be submitted to use as an alternative curriculum tool, but waivers must be submitted to PHMC and then they need to be approved by OCF. The curriculum and outcomes assessments, as well as the developmental screening, you will need to have participated in PHLpreK for at least a year to be eligible to submit a waiver. And the links for these waivers will also be available in the weekly provider update that comes out on Fridays. Emergency closures and remote learning. So PHL pre-K services are expected to be offered in person, and providers should have a remote learning plan in preparation for any emergency closures that may occur. All providers must confirm their plans through the remote learning plan or the remote learning form. So you can submit a new one, you can update your existing one, or upload your school district approved remote learning plan as well. A program may not offer remote learning without an approved remote learning plan. If you do not offer remote learning during an emergency closure, you cannot bill for those closed days. All remote learning plans will require approval by OCF prior to the program start and if activated at any point during the program year. If an emergency closure is needed, you must complete the emergency closure form as well to request approval to be able to switch remote learning and bill for those days. Recruit and retaining qualified staff. So now we just want to take the time to go over information on staff qualifications. PHL pre-K credentials are aligned with the state's career pathway, and it is strongly recommended that your staff meet these qualifications prior to opening and be assigned to a PHL pre-K classroom. So on the left, the chart shows the PHL pre-K credential requirements per position. A child care center director, administrator, lead teacher must have a minimum of a level B on the career pathway. And this also applies to owners/operators of family providers acting as lead teachers. Assistant teachers need to have a minimum of a level A or above. So to the right on the chart, it shows the career pathway levels. So staff must meet one of the qualifications in a level to be satisfactory. As a level A, you'll need to obtain one of the following: hold a current child developmental associate certificate from the Council for Professional Recognition, which is the CDA, a current school age credential, or 9 early childhood education credits. As a level B, you'll need Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and 18 ECE credits if your degree is approved in a related field. Otherwise, you will need 30 ECE credits if that degree is said to be unrelated. Level B does also include elementary education degrees, and that is to be associated with 12 ECE credits. So in addition to the educational requirements, all staff need to meet DHS regulations as well. So in response to the existing staffing shortage and the impact that this may have on your program, staff qualification waivers is available for lead teachers, assistant teachers, and directors who don't meet the PHL pre-K requirements that we just displayed on the previous slide. So individuals applying for a waiver must meet the following to be considered for an approval. You need to have a verified career pathway level of rising level A that is verified in the PA keys. If you're applying for a director or lead teacher position, individuals must have a degree in a related or unrelated field that also needs to be verified in the PA keys profile. If you have not already enrolled, you must enroll in coursework by January 31st, 2026. And then evidence of that enrollment must also be uploaded in the PED registry. So that status of that enrollment will be reviewed in January, and the individuals who have not enrolled may have their waiver rescinded. Any individual who is enrolled to obtain a CDA must obtain that certificate within 1 year. All individuals must also meet the DHS requirements for the position in which they are holding. In addition, any individuals who had an approved waiver in the prior program year, which is the 2024-2025, and have not completed the requirements prior to September 1st of this year, you will need to reapply to demonstrate that you are actively engaging in obtaining those credentials. And Spark will be able to assist any individuals with this as well. So we do have a staff qualifications resource. It is our staff qualifications decision tree. And it is available to just help you understand if your staff is eligible to be approved for a waiver. There's a set of tailored questions that will just help streamline and understand the required criteria prior to you applying for a waiver. And I believe a bigger copy is being displayed right now on your screen. Okay, thanks, Theo. All right, so temporary exemption criteria. So individuals who do not meet the minimum career pathway level, but they do meet the following criteria on this slide, will not have to complete a staff qualifications waiver application, because they would be considered temporary exempt for the 2025-26 program year, and then be considered as compliant. For instance, if you are a director, family childcare owner, lead teacher, you do have a verified degree in the PD registry, and you have less than 18 credits, and you were employed at that legal entity where you are now prior to July 1st, 2022, then you would be considered eligible for a temporary exemption and compliant for this school year. And another example is if you're applying for an assistant teacher and you have at least 6 ECE credits with a verified career pathway, which is less than the required 9 to move to the next career pathway level, and you have been employed at your legal entity prior to July 1st of 2022, and you as well would be considered eligible for the temporary exemption criteria. We do want to emphasize that if you are eligible for the temporary exemption, that the individuals are still making a plan in place to attain the required ECE credits that they will still need to reach the next career pathway level. Right, so we have resources and next steps.
Thanks, Brittany.
Oh, no, I think I have 2 more slides.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, so PHMC, we just want to let you know we will be holding virtual office hours to assist all our providers with the contract exhibits that we went over today, the required policies. If you have any questions on waivers or any online submissions, those links will be in our provider update that comes out every Friday. But we just want to emphasize, so it'll be Wednesday, July 9th at 11 a.m., Wednesday, July 16th at 11 a.m., Wednesday, July 23rd at 1 p.m. And there is no registration required for these virtual hours. And then here on this slide, for contacting PHLpreK intermediary. So if you have any questions or inquiries, please reference this contact sheet. Mainly our PHLpreK at phmc.org inbox, and your question will be assigned to the appropriate department. And I believe now we will turn it over to Lauren back with Spark Quality Support Team.
Thanks. So just regarding some of the exhibit supports that we can offer, the PHLpreK coaches can review the following contract exhibits: family grievance policy, kindergarten transition plan, suspension expulsion, attendance, everything. And we can provide feedback, suggestions, recommendations. We can also share additional resources from the guidelines around the OCDEL guidance for suspension and expulsion, as well as the school district's kindergarten timeline, just as a couple of commonly referred to resources that we use, as well as some support around community events around enrollment. Next slide. Regarding the content specialists, they can offer live professional development opportunities. Some of the topics are business, family and community engagement, social emotional development. We do have some on-demand trainings, which are e-learning opportunities around best practices for writing policies and procedures, and elements of budgeting, just to name a few. And we also, of course, have the Knowledge Center and Help Desk support, as well as individualized support based on referrals or upon request by the PHLpreK coaches. Again, just to kind of highlight some of the upcoming things that we have that are related to your contract exhibits. One of the offerings coming up is what to consider when creating your PHLpreK budget. I'll put the registration information in the chat so that you can click on that. It will also be in the weekly newsletter. In addition, we also have the Positive Behavior Supports Initiative with some offerings over the summer from Spark, First Up, Lakeside, Global, and Westchester University. So these are some great opportunities that you can take advantage of as well. And more will be in the weekly newsletters as well as things come up. And what to expect, you'll get a welcome letter from your coach and probably in the next week or so, as well as an intake or interest survey. PHLpreK teacher orientation on August 20th is the intro to creative curriculum. August 21st is the intro to teaching strategies gold. And August 22nd is also the intro to teaching strategies gold Spanish version. So those registration information can be found on our events calendar. This is just a visual for you regarding the Knowledge Center so that you can have some awareness of where to find things and what they should look like. So again, it is accessible online to providers 24/7. The Knowledge Center serves as the online library containing a lot of different resources, tools, and templates. And there's a variety of features. There are header links to direct you to those resources, featured topics or frequently engaged topics by PHLpreK providers, and quick links to many of the early childhood agencies and services that you engage with, as well as a live chat feature where you can speak with the help desk manager during business hours for any questions. Oh, go back one more. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize it moved. You can go forward one. On the screen displays the events calendar, and I'll put that link in the chat. And this just kind of, again, gives you a little visual of what you can see on the events calendar. This is where you can find and register for any of the PD events. If you're currently in our system, your information is already pre-populated in that registration form, so that helps make it a little bit easier. If you're not in the system, you'll just enter it manually and then it'll be saved for the future. And we do ask that anyone registering make sure that they know their PA Key PD registry ID number so that we can make sure that you do get the appropriate PQuest credit where applicable. The events calendar, again, is housed on the Knowledge Center and is where you can find the schedule of offerings that we have. You can also request PD at your facility if we're not offering something during a time or a day that works for you. We can do our best to meet your needs on site for your location. And last slide. Oh, here's the Positive Behavior Support Initiative. I put those links in the chat already. So these trainings cover trauma-informed practices, positive relationship building, active supervision, a variety of things. And there are some instances where stipends are eligible upon completion. So we do have learning pathways that are listed. So understanding the impact of trauma, creating safe spaces, and responsive interventions. So we hope that you take advantage of those. And lastly, here is our website and our help desk information. And the general email for the help desk. And we look forward to working with you all this coming school year.
All right, thank you, Lauren. So next steps, what, when, and where. We know that we've shared a plethora of information with you over this training session. So here's just an overview of some important dates to come. Your exhibits, your required policies, and other documents. That is due July 30th through our online submission form. Your remote learning plan, which is required by all providers, that is due July 30th. The remote learning plan, it's actually on our Cognito platform. Your curriculum assessment developmental screening waiver, if applicable, that will also be due July 30th. And that is also on our Cognito platform. Our staff qualification waiver, due July 30th and ongoing if you have any new hire staff. Update contact information form, also due July 30th. And just want to make sure that you are updating that contact form throughout the year, because that is how we reach out to the point of contact with any questions or any changes that may happen throughout this fiscal year. And these are all active hyperlinks. So again, these slides will be available in the provider update, so you'll be able to click on them for submissions. Any questions? I did want to go back. I think Theo's want to bring up the decision tree. I believe Miss Joanne, you had a question in the chat. The first one was a lead teacher can have a rising A but be enrolled in a program. How long would they have to complete that program? So the lead teacher, it would depend on, what their actual PD registry profile is saying. This said lead teacher would need to have a verified degree. And then if they are enrolled in a program, that enrollment would also need to be uploaded and verified in the PD registry. So in reference to how long they had to complete the program, I mean, that would be a case by case situation. It depends on what program they're in. We do say we want to see active participation and movement from that teacher throughout the fiscal year. And then I believe your next question was, how about a teacher who was employed at a different PHLpreK program prior to 2022? Would they be eligible for a temporary exemption? And the answer to that question would be no. They would need to have been at the same legal entity prior to that 2022 date. But if you have any specific teachers, if you want to email the PHLpreK inbox, I can reach out to you or any of our providers specifically about a specific teacher prior to whether or not they would be eligible for a staff waiver.
If there are any other questions, we've come to the end of the presentation. And if you do, as you go through your exhibits and the online submission form, please join those office hours if you have any questions, or you can also reach out to your specialist. They can help answer any questions as well. And finally, this again, all these links, everything will be in the provider update that comes out every Friday. New providers will be added to that list as well. All right, thanks all. We'll close out. Have a great day.